Okay, basically just going to be talking about the review of Outlaw King, but before we can even start talking about Outlaw King, let me just do a quick solid review of Braveheart. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what Braveheart is, it is a 1995 movie, I believe, that's featuring Mel Gibson. He played a lot of roles in that movie, but only one acting role. But it was a good movie, but featuring Mel Gibson, and it's talking about what I believe it is a true story because it says biography on it, of how Scotland came to have its own independence from British tyranny in the 13th century. So in the 1200s, basically. So what we come across is a young boy called William Wallace and how his father dies trying to fight this guy called Longshank. Okay, Longshank reminds me of like Shawshank. But fighting this guy called Longshank is an English king. He just really wants to show his power and authority over the Scottish people because they lost their king. Because someone didn't have an heir, and they basically lost the king, and now they're just squabbling over that. And then the English is just like, man, we'll take that. Okay, unclaimed land. That's just like some free parking territory. We'll take that. That's what the English did, and they've been oppressing the Scots for years now. And the Scots obviously don't like that. They're trying to make a truce. Longshank betrays them, eventually kills William's father and I believe his brother as well. So just William's left. So then Williams is like, he's just chill. He doesn't want to die. Okay, like that's the thing. No one wants to die. He doesn't want to die. So then like he tries to marry this woman because he has to marry her in secret because there's this new rule that was put up called prima nota, basically. So any woman that was that got wedded, that got married, the nobles of that land would be the first person to have intercourse with her before the husband. I know, very, very not good. So he had to do it in secret so that, like, if you have a big wedding, people would just like come up like, come to claim my prima nota, come to claim my prima nota. So he didn't want any of that stuff to happen. So he had to do the wedding in secret. And even like while I was doing it in secret, I was just thinking like some nobles was going to come through one of the trees and just be like, I'll come to claim my prima nota, and then just like screw him over, literally. So he marries in secret. He's a married man now. He's good. He just wants to raise a good family, have a nice wife and child, and just be a good lad. But unfortunately, the English, that's not what they want. Okay, so then they see how he's chilling with his wife, basically, literally just chilling and talking with his wife, and someone's just like, what a nice, lovely piece of real estate. And then they try to unfortunately try to rape this woman. Okay. Good thing Wallace is there in time, he saves her, but apparently that's defiance to the knights. I mean, what knights are they like trying to rape women? It's not good at all. But that's defiance to the knights, and defiance to the knights is defiance to the king, and defiance to the king is punishable by death. So, basically, they tie this woman up and they just slit her throat. Easy game, easy life. That guy just didn't pull punches about that. And then Wallace is like, what the heck? Okay. So I didn't get into any issues, so I can marry this lady. And now you're bringing issues now to my doorstep. This is some unfair as shite. When it comes back, he literally kills every single one of those Englishmen that was there by himself, pretty much. Okay, but like just basically, they basically led a good rebellion against him. Okay, and then eventually kills the guy that killed his wife. And this thing goes on more and more, like more Scottish clans are like understanding and hearing about it, and then they're coming to rally behind him. And then there's Robert the Bruce as well, and his dad, and then there's a whole betrayal thing that happens. But basically the whole thing is that a lot of people are rallying up behind William Wallace because they're sick of being oppressed by the English, who are just taking advantage of them, taking advantage of their land, taking advantage of the people, taking advantage of the women and their children, and no one wants that. But then so this goes on for a while. This goes on for a good while. William Wallace is winning. Okay, he eventually gets knighted because he's just winning so much, man. And even then, stays true to his country, stays true to God, and stays true to what he believes in. Okay, I'm just saying that, especially like for the good most part. And it's good and it's beautiful and we love it. You feel me? Yeah. So that's basically what happens. But where everything starts to go kind of downhill is when Robert Bruce's father is trying to look for the kingship, the crown for his son. So basically sets up like a really bad coup. Okay, that was not, when I say really bad coup, I'm not saying that it was unsuccessful. It was successful, but it was bad because it was against William Wallace. Okay, so it was a successful coup against William Wallace, where he organized with other clans to betray them, and basically they got brought out by by the English. The English just brought them out and promised them better stuff. I mean, how can you promise better stuff than freedom? They basically brought the freedom away from them, and then basically William Wallace was handed over to them, and it wasn't too good. It was not too good. Okay, then they beat him, they torture him, they strap him to to some stuff. They try to stretch him out with a horse, and then they basically cut him open, take out his intestines, and then cut him up, and then send him to different parts of England, and say, "This is what happens to people who try to betray the king." And Robert's just like, "Nah, man, I didn't want this, man. Don't do this." They weren't happy with what he was really not happy with what his dad did. Okay, and at first there was a little bit of some betrayal here and there, left and right, center from Robert, but eventually I'm feeling this guy did not like what he did, and he wants to show himself a true good type of person. You feel? I feel. That's, yeah. I didn't really go into details of much of the fights, but I'm just saying that William was just smashing out with those fights. But this is where Outlaw King then comes in, because Outlaw King kind of just starts near the end of the first movie, just before they kill William Wallace. Okay, so basically before they eventually recapture William Wallace, he had kind of lost a battle where they kind of betrayed him, but they didn't capture him, so he's just off basically on his own, trying to rally some more men, doing what he can do to do everything he can, and that's all happening. And then he goes to then do another fight, and that's when he then gets caught when people who shouldn't really, just betray him. He just needed to unite the clans of Scotland, because unity was what's going to give them greatness. So this is where the ending of both movies come together. Ending of Outlaw King and ending of Braveheart come together, because they basically have the same area of story, right? So in essence, Robert the Bruce is now starting to fight against the King Edward, because he does not believe in what King Edward's been doing to people for no reason. Okay, it was not really for no reason. He doesn't believe in being under King Edward. That you shouldn't really need to be. You don't really need to be under him, with a lot of the oppression, a lot of the. Not just the oppression, also the taxes and the forced conscription into the army and that type of stuff. Also, it must be noted in Outlaw King how Robert's first wife, she had died. So then that means that he married again, and Elizabeth is a very, very, very beautiful woman. Okay, he marries again for the second time. And that was good. That was good. And she stays faithful to her husband. And Robert's still having some issues, because he's still trying to get over his first wife. She stays faithful to her husband, really pledges that allegiance to him, and all in all, it was a beautiful relationship that the two had. They're starting to wage war against Edward. Then a night ambush happens. They ambush them in the night. That's not too good. He needs to escape his wife and his child to someone else. Then some of Robert's brothers even get killed because they're trying to help him, trying to help his wife. A lot of people are dying, left, right, and center. It's really sad. It really is sad. But what keeps him going is that is the freedom. Freedom. He keeps thinking of the freedom that we need for Scotland. And it was good. Because once you have that ideal and you know that you're worth living and dying for, you just keep going. So using his wits, using his smarts, okay? He was crowned king kind of like illegally, okay, because it was against Edward, but like using his smarts, he was able to beat the English army with a smaller army, using his smarts, and that then showed that we can do this. People started coming together, fighting more against Edward, and then when the Scottish people, when they come together and fight, man, you don't mess around. They didn't mess around. So eventually, Robert the Bruce, my man, he won. Okay, he won. It was good. It was good. I was happy. We were all cheering for him. It was all really enjoyable watching him.
Make it indulgent with a delicious gold spiced gingerbread.
And we love that.
Pineapple and rum pudding.
That's how it ends. And overall, I quite enjoyed the movie because it really just taught you that no matter what, you should not really be giving up for anything at all, because you can always have an ideal. You can always have something to live and to fight for and to enjoy and to move on. And that's basically it. Outlaw King, Braveheart, and what we can be doing. Yeah. So like we say, like and subscribe, stay on the journey, stay safe, and yeah. What else can I say?